virgins with bright makeup and guns in their hands. Why Gaddafi favored women as his bodyguards. Greetings. Today, we are going to talk about the personal security of Libyan statesman Muammar Gaddafi. Is it true that women had to remain virgins until the end of their service, and why? Whether the female squad was allowed to wear makeup and heels on the job, and how one of the bodyguards protected a revolutionary and was killed by terrorists. Be sure to watch the video to the very end. This way, you will learn all the details and key details on this topic. Troubled situation in the country. As you probably know, the coming to power of a revolutionary is accompanied by the most unpredictable events and political situation in the country. Muammar Gaddafi was no exception. Since the beginning of the Libyan revolution, the man was repeatedly assassinated, and terrorist acts were waiting at every step. That is why the issue of security and personal protection of Gaddafi was at the top of the list. One of the advisors of the statesman, named Karl Hans, German nationality, proposed an effective solution: to recruit women instead of men to Muammar Gaddafi's personal guard. This solution was soon approved, and the selection of women was strict and in accordance with the fundamental requirements. Why women and not men? There is a legitimate question. How did it happen that greater emphasis was placed on women and not on male representatives? In this case, the explanation is found for several main reasons. First, the peculiarities of psychology and thinking. These parameters differ significantly between representatives of different sexes. It is believed that it is women who can easily recognize any human emotion and even make a quick decision in critical moments. It goes without saying that women by nature are emotional, and their intuition often does not fail. That's why such qualities have helped and still help them in direct contact with terrorists. Secondly, the religious component. It is no secret that chaste girls and women are not attached to others and therefore act on the instructions of their superior, which in fact was considered to be directly Muammar Gaddafi. Plus, according to the Quran, women who converted to Islam were sure to go to paradise after death. Thirdly, the revolutionary of Libya in this way wanted to demonstrate to other countries that there is equality between men and women. After all, at that time, not all countries in Africa and other continents promoted this ideology. The main requirements and features of the service of Muammar Gaddafi. Well, let us finally understand how the very women who served at the Libyan politician were selected. Such ladies were called Nuns of the Revolution, or Guard of Amazons. The first detachment of Gaddafi's personal guard was formed in the early 1980s. So, you may have already guessed the key requirement for female pretenders. They had to remain chaste until the end of their service. Plus, they couldn't get pregnant. So all their attention was directed to their duties. Also, the external parameters of women were taken into account when hiring them. According to the surviving photos and illustrations, it can be understood that the service was selected representatives with a magnificent figure. Such a requirement can also be explained. Women did not just stand at the post, but performed a number of actions in case of emergency. For example, combat techniques, shooting from different types of firearms, etc. The peculiarities of the service of the Libyan revolutionary impressed many women, each of whom wanted to be in the squad of virgin bodyguards. In addition to high wages, the ladies were trained in hand-to-hand combat and shooting. The women excelled in martial arts such as judo, karate, etc. Even the people around them, including terrorists, could not expect any retaliation or repulse from Gaddafi's female bodyguards. Hence, another useful quality, the effect of surprise. The dress code in Muammar Gaddafi's personal guard is worth mentioning separately. Officially, women wore camouflage suits of not only green, but also blue colors. This outfit was accompanied by a crimson beret with a golden hawk. Caps and caps in women's closet were also welcomed. By the way, makeup, long hairstyles and wearing heeled shoes in the Guard of the Amazons were also not prohibited. it was not uncommon for virgins to wear dark glasses. Muammar Gaddafi wanted to emphasize diversity and increase his social status among women, who, as we know, were known to deny themselves practically nothing. Whether such security is effective. Many people still wonder how effective Muammar Gaddafi's personal guards were. These are ordinary women, and many of them had no experience at all at first. To answer this question, it is enough to cite the fact that all attempts on Gaddafi's life in 1980 to 90 failed. And yes, the number of nuns of the revolution, according to some sources, was from 40 to 400 people. On top of all this, we should not forget that the female bodyguards were skilled in combat techniques, and also with weapons in their hands, they could at any moment to repel the attack of the enemy. History knows a case when one of the women named Aisha risked her own life during a fierce firefight. She covered Muammar Gaddafi with her body and was fatally wounded as a result. Several other female bodyguards with Kalashnikovs fired back to protect the revolutionary. Further fate of the virgin bodyguards. It is worth paying tribute to the women who carried the service to the end and remained loyal to Gaddafi. However, the role of the virgins soon began to decline. Even Muammar Gaddafi himself neglected his personal guards in some cases. During one trip to America, which was accompanied by a Libyan delegation, only one bodyguard went with the revolutionary. About the further fate of the Guard of Amazons, we can only speculate, because there are several versions of what actually happened to the women. Some sources claim that Muammar Gaddafi just fired the bodyguards and as a replacement hired men. From other assumptions, it follows that women were made concubines and locked in a secret bunker right in the capital of Libya. There is even a version that after the overthrow of the political regime, Muammar Gaddafi forced women to have sex with him. Although such speculation does not stand up to criticism of its own, because virgin bodyguards hardly survived such abuse, which means they could have killed their bosses themselves. Only a few facts are known. First, 13 years ago, the Arab Spring began in the country, which marked the end of the era of the political leader. At the age of 69, Muammar Gaddafi fell under the NATO airstrike, which at that time had already been fighting with Libya for 8 months. After that, the revolutionary was seriously injured and died. Secondly, photos of murdered women who served in Gaddafi's personal guards got into the network. And violent traces indicated that the unfortunate ones were abused to the point of exhaustion and subjected to cruel torture. And this went on for days on end. Conclusion. Thus, the nuns of the revolution proved that women are capable of much even in the most difficult period. Muammar Gaddafi's bodyguards demonstrated decent personal qualities and the ability to sacrifice for the sake of others. Unfortunately, over time, the relevance of female guards has been minimized, and the fate of women has not been decided in the most humane way.